Hello and welcome to Life at the Laundry Garden. We have got a day of tulip planting and I'm really excited about it. The collections that are going in, one will be going into the section of garden which is at the front of the house. I'll show you all of this on a map. And the other collection will be going into the wall garden. A lot of you asked me some questions about the one that's going into the wall garden, so you might find it quite interesting on how we're going to plant those. The ones in the house garden will be scattered around individually. I will use my hori to plant them. I've got Hannah and Rowan coming in the next half an hour, and we all have our different ways of planting tulips. I like to use a hori. I think Rowan likes to use a trowel, and some people, if you're planting in bigger clumps, then you'll probably use a spade, but the deeper the better with planting tulips, because they're quite tall, they need a bit more depth. And I also think as well, it stops those pesky squirrels and mice love tulips as well, so I have to be quite careful. The deeper the better. Anyway, I will show you on the map where we're going to be planting them, and Hannah and Rowan will be here in the next half an hour and we'll show you where we're at afterwards. See you in a bit. Best time to plant tulips is between November and January. If you haven't planted them by the end of January, get your skates on and just get them in the ground. But what we want is a good snap and consistent snaps of cold weather, and it's certainly colder here right now. So just coming into the house garden now, and I'll give you a quick look of where the first batch of tulips are going. And here's the front of the house, and Penny being very naughty. She doesn't like to go in the kennel after she's had a walk because she gets very wet and muddy, so I'll have to chase around a little bit. So here are my tulips all ready and in their individual patches, all labelled. So here we have the 3 different varieties, and they're all going to be randomly put through this border, which I call the south border in the house garden. We're going to cut down a few little bits here. This is Iris Sibirica, which flowered much earlier in the year, and that's ready to be cut back. The grasses will leave. And what we're going to do is, yes, Penny, this crazy dog. Oh gosh. So if we stand here and look at the weeping pear, now the bulk of them, so the end of the border is here, and then we've got, it sweeps completely round. So I'm going to use this tree as the end and these box balls as this end, and we're going to drift plant them, which means we're just going to throw them in and let them all drift. So they're going to get a lot more light either side of the tree, so they will be planted slightly thinner underneath this tree and underneath this plum tree as well, ornamental plum should I say. And then as we come round the sweep here, the tulips become a little bit more sparse, so the bulk of them will be here and here. Here's our map of the garden, this being the wall garden, and this area here. So this is the house, and the area we're going to be planting today is just this border along the back here, and then we're going to move into the wall garden here, and we've got a border just along this section here, and that's where we're going to be planting some more tulips. Now we've already planted some in these 2 borders here and here, and we've also planted tulips in these borders here and here. In my little book of ideas and plans, this is where I have made my big list of where all the tulip bulbs are going to be planted. They've all come from CROCUS as well, each collection. And I have put them into categories of where each collection will be going. It just makes my life a lot easier, and I've numbered them so that I know where all the tulips are, so I can get to them nice and quickly. So it's a really good thing to do, to have a list. Even, I mean, this is quite messy, but I know what's what and what's going where, so it makes a lot of sense. And then I keep my garden map quite handy as well, so I can just refer to where everything is going. So here we are.
That's what I normally do with Gareth, yeah.
Right, so we have started. Oh gosh, what's going on? What?
I said I'm going to throw one of these at your head in a minute, and you went, so.
Oh, interesting. They're having a big debate about Agara. They've cut back Agara over here, and now they're wondering whether or not. Now, Hannah thinks she's done the right thing. Rowan said the last time he cut down Agara at this time of year, December, it never came back again. So we shall see. This is gardening. This is what we love about gardening. Trial and error. Okay, where were we? Okay, so the 3 different varieties of tulips, we've jumbled them all up into these trays, and we've got Shirley, we've got Negrita, and we've got Rem's favourite. Those are the 3 different varieties within the collection. And what we're going to do is, if we keep in mind that this whole border is south facing, which tulips love, they like a lot of sunlight to get maximum flowers. And we've got this weeping pear here. And what we're going to do is obviously throw them as we are now, planted in drifts, but bearing in mind that we are going to get a slight bit of lots of roots and a little bit of shade from the weeping pear. So it might become slightly sparser underneath there, but then either side of here will build up again with a lot more. And then we'll move round to the ornamental plum. And again, it may become slightly sparse underneath there because of obviously the roots, and it won't be quite as sunny. So you're sort of going with the natural flow of the border as well, and as the tulips would naturally come up underneath tree canopies and where the roots are. So we are literally just scattering them through the border, bearing in mind we don't want them too close to the wall, and what we don't want is just next to the weeping pear, and at the end of the border here, I've got a run of Nepeta Six Hills Giant, and underneath that are some pink alliums, pink jewel they're called, and I've been slowly building them up over the years because they're quite pricey. And what I don't want to do is to have the tulips coming into here and us accidentally stabbing the alliums. So basically where I'm standing, we're going to roughly stop the tulips going any further to the edge. Okay, so Rowan prefers to use a garden trowel, a pointy garden trowel, he said, to plant his tulips. So how deep are you planting these tulips? They're quite deep, nice, and yeah, brilliant. Yeah, at least the length of the trowel. Perfect. Right, well, we've got quite a few to get through. I'm just going to show you. Oh, there's Mr. Robin. Hello, Mr. Robin. And just at the other end, so you can see we've distributed all these tulips. It's going to look amazing. And if we go over here, Hannah and myself, we are going to be using the Hori Hori. So here's Hannah with the Hori Hori, and same sort of principle with the garden fork, really. It's just the Hori Hori is nice and sharp and you can get nice and deep. So the length of the Hori Hori.
I knew it would be really hard for me to do it as soon as you started filming. I was like, this is not going to be a good demonstration of how to do Hori Hori.
Yeah, there are sections here that are quite difficult to get into. So, but basically the length of the Hori Hori is as deep as we're going to go. So yeah.
It has your measurements on it.
And it has your measurements on it as well. So
about 6 inches.
Excellent. Right, we're going to get cracking. Rowan and Hannah have already started. I'm going to make my start in the middle here. We're armed with Christmas music, so let's get tulip planting. And we, Hannah, quiet, and we are done. Yay! Just before lunch. Oh, ready for lunch now. I absolutely love it when a plan comes together and we get a big job done in one hit. So good. Right, just had lunch and it's time to go back out to plant some more tulips. I'm not going to take that one out because I can't be bothered. Right, off we go. Right, so I'm off to get the next batch of tulips that are going in the wall garden. Hannah and Rowan are just getting their kit together and ready to move over. I love it when things come together. And also, I think when you've got so many tulips to plant, the best thing I can recommend is don't do it on your own. Get someone to help you. Either pay them or find a friend, or it really breaks the back of it and makes it more enjoyable, because I must admit I think tulip planting at this time of year can just be a bit of a lonely job and slightly thankless at the time, because you're planting something and you're not seeing anything pretty until a few months down the line. Right, let's get the next batch of tulips. Right, here's the remaining batch of tulips I've got to go in pots and in the ground. Now, these are the ones that are going into the wall garden, and then these ones in here are going in the trough, and I think these ones are the ones that are going into a square planter at the back of the house. I think these are going in pots as well. So these are the last ones that are going into the ground. Okay, this is our final tulip collection that's going to be going inside the wall garden. So come with me and I'll show you where they're going. Okay, so we have two different varieties of tulips. We have got Purple Doll and Doll's Minuet, which amounts to 20 tulips altogether. Now I've got 3 lots of these, and this is where I'm going to show you why I've put these here. If you look down this section, it's only a narrow border, and I've put these trugs here with the grasses in to just indicate where the tulips are going to be going within the border, and it just gives me a good mind's eye on how it's going to flow as you walk down. So if you think about it, the tulips will be coming up here, which is where the stachys is. This is lamb's ears, and what we're going to do is dig out this section of lamb's ears and leave the front section, and let the tulips come up just behind it in a nice little group here. So what I want you to do is try and imagine these tulips in a nice little clump here, and then you've got the stachys sitting in front. So this bit of stachys here, and anything else that's growing will come out, and the tulips will be in the ground, so they'll come up to about here. And then as you look further down the border, you'll have another clump which is evenly spaced to this one further down, and it just carries the eye all the way to the end of this border, and it's really quite pleasing to see. So if you've got any narrow borders that are quite long, it's always nice to plant in uneven numbers, which is why I've gone for 3 clumps. So if it's a much longer border than this, you could go for maybe 5 clumps or 7 clumps, depending on how long it is, or go for bigger clumps and less amount. So it's just sort of balancing and giving the eye something really interesting to take it down that long, narrow border. We've got Hannah over there, we've got Rowan here, and he's already ahead of the game. So you can see the stachys sits at the front, tulips in the middle, and then you've obviously got the hedge. And they're going to be planted roughly, I don't know, so many centimetres apart from one another, which will create a nice circular clump of tulips sitting just behind the stachys and in front of the yew hedge. That look really nice. Thanks, Rowan. Hannah's going for the different approach. She's obviously started digging out some of the stachys that's spread a bit too much towards the back, and Hannah's going to dig a circular hole to put the tulips in, whereas Rowan has gone for more of the individual planting approach. Well, we've come to the end of the day. Hannah and Rowan have packed up and gone home now. Tulips are all in the ground. I cannot be more relieved. We've still got the trough to plant up and the square planter at the back of the house and a few pots as well. But otherwise, I'm very relieved that the ones are all in the ground. Perfect. Well, I'd like to leave you now and say a very big thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.